Welcome to
the most epic Holly Jolly
Christmas Showdown.
I'm Amanda Figueroa.
And I'm Adriana York, formerly Figueroa.
And we are just two sisters who love Christmas and competition. Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome.
Okay, we are looking at our last movie of Streaming of a White Christmas.
I know.
Wow.
First category already done.
Already done, and we're going to know who's moving on.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
These scores are so close.
They are. I'm nervous, actually.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Because this is our second season, but we still haven't figured out what we're going to do in, tiebreakers.
Yeah.
Because the only tiebreaker that we hit was in playoffs last year.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe we'll have to see.
We'll have to see. But anyways, our weekly Christmas cheer. What do you have?
Well, mine for the last, I don't know how many weeks, honestly. Maybe it's been 2 months or so. I've been meeting weekly with two of my friends, doing a book study. Yeah. And it's always such a nice time. I look forward to Friday mornings because, yeah, we talk about a book and I have to read a book, which is hard for me sometimes, but I'm trying to get into it. But it's mostly just hanging out, and then we talk about the book, and I'm really enjoying the book, too. So it's just, a nice time that, we get to come together, just kind of be. We bring the kids. They hang out. And, yeah, it's a fun time.
Yeah. So my weekly Christmas cheer is along the lines of friends as well. So I've met some new girls from church through a Bible study, and we went to a farmer's market on Saturday, and it was just really nice because this was our first real outing as just hanging out, and it was also cold that day. It was again a random cold day, and it was just really fun. We had coffee, then we looked at different shops, and then we actually went to the farmer's market, walked around, and then we had scones to end off the day, and it was just really fun. And it just, yeah, hanging out with friends and community, it's really nice.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's our weekly Christmas cheer.
Yeah.
If you're new around here, how we do things is that we first start off with a fairly-ish detailed summary of the movie. So if you don't like spoilers, just take a pause here. Go find the movie. Today we are looking at Noelle, which you can find on Disney+. But if you don't mind a little spoiler or kind of want a little synopsis before you spend your time watching the movie, then stay tuned. We're going to tell you all about it. And then following the summary, we go into our scorings. And the categories that we use to score the movies are plot, main character, aesthetic, overall Christmas cheer, and supporting characters. And then we'll finish off with the totals. We got to add some cringe in there because, yeah.
Yeah.
Christmas movies
Christmas
sometimes.
movies have cringe.
And then, yeah, that's our episodes.
Yeah. So without further ado, let's get into Noelle. This 2019 Disney movie follows Noelle, the daughter of Santa Claus. Noelle loves everything Christmas. I mean, this girl is all in. She's reading this Santa handbook. She loves Christmas. Her brother Nick, however, is a bit nervous about the whole Santa gig, as he would be the next Santa to take over. He's known this his entire life, but a big stressor comes in when Noelle and Nick's dad, Santa, dies 5 months before Christmas. And so Nick has to take over. Nick struggles to do all the basic Santa duties, and Noelle, being the caring sister she is, suggests that maybe Nick needs to relax and take a getaway. For a weekend, I might add. She said a weekend. That idea backfires as Nick disappears without a word. Noelle's cousin Gabe ends up being the next Santa, and Noelle is painted as the North Pole villain for encouraging Nick to go. Loses out on her Kringle discount and everything.
That was honestly such a sad scene.
It was.
She was like, what about my Kringle discount? I said, girl, I wish they would give you the Kringle discount too.
Yeah, they were like, it's only for the immediate family of the Santa.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rough time. Noelle takes the sleigh, the reindeer, and accidentally her nanny, Elf Polly, and heads to Phoenix, Arizona to find Nick. Along the way, Noelle makes friends with Helen, a mall manager who is severely crushing on a Petco employee, and Jake, a private investigator who is trying to juggle work and being a single dad. Noelle finds Nick and discovers that Nick is a yoga instructor and he does not want to go back to the North Pole. Noelle tries to get Nick back in the spirit, especially when she finds out that Gabe is cracking down on who is naughty and who is nice. Apparently, only 2,837 kids, to be exact.
I'm laughing because he found that number using the fa la 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 la.
Yeah. Gabe is like so analytical yet so Christmassy. It's very interesting. We'll get into him. Nick fails to get back in the spirit, but we see Noelle developing some interesting Santa-specific gifts, like speaking multiple languages, knowing who is naughty or nice, and what people want for Christmas. Unfortunately, Noelle lands herself in a psychiatric ward after kicking a cop and saying that she's Santa's sister. So that's where she landed. Jake comes to the rescue. She, Elf Polly, and Nick head back to the North Pole. Nick shocks everyone when he gives the reins to Noelle to take over the mantle of Santa Claus. Noelle rallies the elves and gets ready for the big night. Noelle delivers presents and feels like she is failing. She missed Greece and many other places. Toys and presents were falling out of her bag. She got attacked by a dog. Security systems were really getting her.
Kids were waking up and saying, Santa's not a girl.
Just having a hard time, you know? She was really struggling. And not to mention, her suit is gigantic because it is not fitting her as it should be. It always fits the Santa. But right now, it's not fitting. But Noelle visits a homeless shelter where a deaf girl recognizes her as Santa. As in, no matter who you are, you're Santa to me. Noelle's suit fits her and she comes into her own as the new Santa. And that is basically the end of Noelle. So,
Yep.
It's a good time.
Santa Noelle.
Santa Noelle. Ugh. It was a good one. I've never seen it before.
Can you believe that? She had never seen it. Christmas movie lover who?
I know. I definitely saw it on Disney Plus and I was like, I should watch it. And I never got around to it. But I'm glad I watched it now.
Yeah, it's a good one.
So without further ado, let's get into our plot. What'd you give it?
I give it 4.5 candy canes out of 5.
I gave it 4 candy canes out of 5.
It's a really good one.
Yeah.
I liked how it was different. So, of course, it was like, you know, finding Christmas cheer. I feel like that's all Christmas movies. So it's kind of hard to, like, escape that.
Yeah.
But this one was a different take because it was Santa who lost his Christmas cheer.
That is true.
And Santa's sister is trying to help Santa find his Christmas cheer.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't think he had Christmas cheer from the beginning.
I don't think so either. From the beginning scene of when they were kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's also kind of where I have some issues is like the very first scene, the dad Santa, like before he passed away, he like gave brother Nick, right?
Yeah.
Her brother Nick, a Santa hat. And he was like, it's time to start your Santa training. But if Santa, like, is supposed to know everything, shouldn't he know that Nick's Christmas wish is probably, literally his only wish is probably not to be Santa?
Yeah.
And that, like, Noelle's is.
Yeah.
That kind of bothered me. But other than that, I really enjoyed it. I liked how different it was. Like,
yeah.
Noelle, all she had known was the North Pole, and then she goes out into the real world, and she's like, okay, quickly humbled.
Yeah.
And, yeah, like, I just loved the Christmas cheer that she had the entire time. And I liked a female Santa. Like,
yeah.
It was a fun little take, and it added more, like, emotion and feeling to it. Because it's easy for women to, like, be sentimental and, like, share their emotions.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of sweet moments.
Mm-hmm.
I also liked just kind of the message. Like, it was definitely a movie that was fairly geared towards children, but definitely recognized that adults were watching this with kids as well. But the message was about believing that you can do it and believing in yourself. And I was like, that's a nice message to give to kids. Like, you can do it as long as you believe that you can do it. But yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, I really liked the angle of, again, Santa's son not wanting to be Santa. I thought it was a very interesting angle there. And I really liked Anna Kendrick in this one. I felt like she was a really good Noelle, you know?
Yeah. She is Noelle.
She is Noelle. Like, I can't imagine anyone else playing that role. I think where I docked it was the theme of, like, the girl being, like, essentially the chosen one all along is a little overused, like, just in general. I think that was my only thing. It's not like a Christmas movie thing, but also it kind of is. Hallmark does that a lot. Like, the girls are the ones that rally everyone together, does everything, rallies everyone. So it was just a little overused, and that's where I docked it. But the writing, the twist, and the overall flow of the movie was really good. I mean, I thought it moved very well. I didn't feel like it was rushed in any way, because I was watching another movie and I was like, it was a Hallmark movie. It wasn't a Christmas one. But I was like, oh, they were pressed for time.
Yeah.
You know? It didn't feel like that with this movie.
No, yeah. This one did a really good job. I actually made a note and I forgot to mention it. But I loved the development of Noelle as Santa. Like, I think it was always, like, underlyingly there.
Yeah.
But then, like, as Christmas approached, like, more and more of her powers, like, came to be. And I was like, I really enjoyed that. And I felt like it was done in, like, very good ways. Like, they set it up just right. Like, for her to find out who's naughty or nice. Like, she found the nice guy.
Yeah.
For Jake to borrow a phone. And, like, for the language, she ran into the deaf girl at the shelter. And so I was like, that was very clever how they put that in there.
Yeah.
And I would agree with you with, like, the girl thing. But I would say that this is different because this is a female Santa.
That is true. So
it's not just thing. Like, in general, like, oh, they're using a woman to, like, rally everyone. Like, no, she is Santa.
No, I know. And that's where I was like, that's why my score is, like, 4. You know? I loved it. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that, it was just.
You're like, we just want to see a man rally everyone together every once in a while.
I just feel like if Hallmark would do that every once in a while, then maybe I would be like, I would give it more.
Yeah.
You know? I feel like I just dogged Hallmark there. I'm so sorry, but please, can you try and do that?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Anywho, moving on.
Main characters or character. I only have one.
Noelle.
She was the star of the show.
Yeah, I did my scene thing where I was like, did anybody else, like, have a solo scene? No. She was there every single time.
Yeah, she was. So,
what'd you give her?
I gave her 4 1/4 candy canes out of 5.
Okay, I gave her 4 candy canes.
Oh, okay. No, I thought she was so funny. And she had so much optimism. And where I docked her was because it was almost to a fault.
Yeah.
It was like, okay.
Yeah, I agree. I loved her persistence and I loved her cheer and her optimism. But it was so annoying. Like, she was also, like, a little naive and a little, like a fly in your ear. Like, dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee. Like, at times it was just like, okay, chill, dude. But then I liked how it worked. Because also, like, you have to keep in mind, like, all she had ever known was the North Pole. And all that she has ever known is Christmas.
Yeah.
So, like, going into the real world, she's like, yeah, of course we're cheery. Like, I grew up in the North Pole. And, like, yeah, of course there's going to be nice people. But, yeah.
Yeah, I docked her a bit just because sometimes her lack of awareness made me suffer from secondhand embarrassment. And I was like, it's kind of true. I loved her enthusiasm for Christmas, though, and just life in general. I felt like she really wanted the best for everyone. She was selfless, I would say, in most cases.
Yeah.
And so I really enjoyed that about her.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
She, like, literally put in all this time and effort, knowing that, like, her dream in life was to be Santa.
Yeah.
And she was like, you know, I'm not Santa, and that's okay. And I'm going to help Nick be the best Santa he could be, because guess what matters? Santa. And, like, Christmas having Santa, and kids having Santa and Christmas. So she's like, if that's my role, is to make sure that Santa is the best Santa that he can be, then that's going to be it.
Yeah.
She took it very seriously, too. Cousin Gabe was like, oh, is Cousin Nick? And she said, oh,
Santa.
that's Santa to you. She's like, that's Santa to all of us. Even Nick refers to himself as Santa.
She goes, so that he can get into in the Santa spirit.
And he's like, I'm actually very informal with myself, and I'm just Nick. The script in this movie was so good.
Yeah.
Like, definitely, like I mentioned, definitely geared towards children, but, like, they knew.
They knew adults were watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, no, but she was a good character. Really enjoyed her. She's one of those few main characters where I feel like you were rooting for them the entire time.
Yeah.
I don't think I was ever, like, not on Noelle's side.
Yeah, I can agree.
Yeah.
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 There was never a point where I wanted her to fail or, like,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, give up already. Like, no, I was like, get after it, dude.
Again, her optimism was so good to a fault. Like, the only thing I would be like, it's like, that's not realistic. That's where I would, where it was for me. I'm like, that's not realistic to be that optimistic. But like you said, it makes sense if all she's ever known is Christmas and giving presents and living in the North Pole, where they don't have, like, any connection to the outside world, really.
Yeah.
Except for magazines.
Yeah. That was what her dad used to get her for Christmas.
That is true.
Magazines.
Yeah. Let's move on to aesthetic. What'd you give it?
I gave it 4 candy canes out of 5.
I gave it 5 candy canes out of 5.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, let me talk first then. I'm just kidding. I really enjoyed it. I felt like it was, like, currently happening. Like, I could walk out my front door and I could see Noelle trying to find Nick.
Yeah.
Like, that's how real it felt. Like, they didn't really change much of the set at all, hardly. I loved, it was set in Arizona. And the Santas there, like, didn't wear pants because it was so hot. And so I thought that was a funny little bit. Noelle's outfits.
Oh,
I loved them.
loved them.
There's literally one where it's at the beginning. She's wearing, like, a fitted turtleneck long sleeve and it's red.
Yeah.
And then she has, like, the brown camel pants and, like, this, like, stitching down the side. But it's, like, it was frayed and everything down the side. It just looked so cute.
Yeah.
It looked like she was getting to work, but she wasn't even quite Santa yet.
Yeah.
And then her outfit when she was Santa, I was like,
yeah.
loved.
I would say from beginning to end, she was dressed perfectly. I loved everything of her outfits. The patterns, the colors.
Yeah.
I loved the distinguished, like, it was like little details. Like, when she dressed up like the mall elf, she's like, and her brother's like, you don't dress like that all the time. She goes, that really hurts. I don't dress like this. And it's like, yeah, it's colorful, but her colors are also different. Like, no, they did such a good job with her outfits.
Her outfits were so cute. And then even at the beginning, like when she first gets into, it's Phoenix, right?
Yeah.
When she first gets to Phoenix, she's wearing like a full-on winter hat, like fur-lined, gloves, and like multiple layers. And then Jake sees her and he's like, why is your face so red? And she's like, because I'm hot. He's like, well, why don't you take off your winter hat? Like, that's silly that you're wearing that. And she's like, it's an ensemble. Like, she takes her outfits very seriously.
Very seriously.
And I loved it.
Yeah.
I liked how her hair was even kind of funky. Like, it just gave me, like, elf vibes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, yeah, she's definitely not from here.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it felt like to me.
No, that high ponytail, it made me want to straighten my hair and then put it up in a high pony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really cute.
Yeah.
And then I thought the music was really fun. I'm going to start putting music in aesthetic.
Yeah.
And it was just, like, it was fun and cheerful and, like, just different.
Yeah.
But very Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that they could have done more with the set. Like, it felt like they didn't do anything except put the people there. Like, when she was walking through the streets and in the mall, it's like it was just a mall, and then the people were there.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it felt very real time,
Yeah.
and I enjoy that.
Yeah.
But I wanted just a little bit more, because I was like, I know that this isn't realistic. I know that it's not, like, real life.
Yeah.
So I want something more.
Yeah.
But I did like the reindeer also.
Yes.
They were amazing.
Yeah. I think that the real life and Noelle, I think there was a very good contrast. Because I think that it just shows that she was in an area where, you know how it is. You live in a hot area. It's not necessarily Christmassy everywhere, you know?
Yeah.
And so I just felt like it gave more to the plot in that she's coming into a world that she doesn't know. So she's the outcast. She's the weirdo, you know? And it just played into, like, the commentary that she would have. Like, she goes, yogurt pants. She goes, why is everyone so weird here? And we're kind of like, you're the weird one. You don't know what yoga pants are.
Yeah.
And things like that. I loved the North Pole. I love a good North Pole. I don't know if you've noticed it. It's a theme. It's a running theme here. But it was so good.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
That house, their house at the beginning with the stained glass, I was looking at it and, you know, it doesn't tell you right away that Noelle and Nick are Santa's kids.
Yeah.
They reveal it within, like, 2 minutes. But, like, the start of it is, it's like a girl waiting for Santa. And I was looking in the background. I'm like, who has stained glass windows in their house? And I was like, oh, they live in the North Pole. And it was just, that whole scene was good. I loved how they had a practice area for Santa to train.
But, you know, I do have an issue with that practice area.
Yeah.
Because when he was going down the chimney training, they were elves, like, putting out fake snow.
Yeah.
Like, they were, like, they had this setup where they were, like, twisting something to put out fake snow. And I'm like, it's the North Pole.
Yeah.
Do you not have real snow?
Maybe it is real snow that they're twisting down to create the snow effect. I don't know.
It felt really funny.
Yeah.
I was like, that's weird.
Yeah. Maybe it wasn't snowing that day and they needed to create the scene.
Yeah. We'll go with that.
But yeah, no, I loved it all. I felt like they did a really great job. I really liked kind of the differences in the Santas almost between Noelle, Nick, and their brother, or not their brother, their cousin, Gabe.
Yeah.
It's like when they all took on the mantle of Santa, like Nick, his felt cheap because he wasn't really in it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like even an ordinary guy was like, that costume looks cheap. He goes, no one's going to believe that. And then Gabe, he kind of looked like this old...
He, like, spray painted his hair or something.
Yeah. Like, grumpy, but, like, he wasn't grumpy. Like, that's the thing with Gabe that also made me laugh. And we'll talk more about him later. But he kind of, like, looked like this old Scrooge-like character. And then you have Noelle, who fits the mantle. And I just... No, I loved everything. I loved their mom's outfit.
Yeah.
You know, Elf Polly, I thought she was a riot.
Was so funny.
You know, the outfits that she was in were so crazy as well. I think it just gave credence to the North Pole.
Yeah.
Because she was trying to assimilate a little bit more to Arizona. Or she liked the style. I don't know. but it was still so crazy. Just think of like the craziest like Western wear that you can pick out, and that's what she did.
Yeah.
And so I think it also gave into the fact that they're from the North Pole. That's how they're used to operating, and then they're in the real world where everyone's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, that's true.
So
they did a good job with all of that.
And then the screen on the sleigh of the two elves.
Yeah.
And it's like going up, and they're like, ah! And or when they were dive bombing, they're like, ah!
Yeah.
And the end credit scene, like when they're showing all the names of the actors.
Yeah.
And it was just like so curated. I mean, you know exactly who they were talking about.
Yeah, who like each actor
played.
Yeah.
And it was like this like cartoon thing, and it was
really like a lot of time and effort put in, and you're like, wow, that's just for the end credits.
Yeah.
But it was very well done.
Yeah.
Like, it was kind of almost enjoyable to watch the credits.
Mm-hmm. So, overall, I loved it.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to overall Christmas cheer. What'd you give it?
I gave it 4.5 candy canes out of 5.
I gave it 3.5 candy canes out of 5.
We're thinking differently.
We are.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? Tell me about them.
Pretty much the entirety of my score came from Noelle. Because I just felt like she was such a big part of the movie, and she really carried that movie through.
Yeah.
She was so in love with Christmas, and it was so infectious. I think there was just those moments when she was getting those Santa gifts that, like, I loved them, you know?
What?
It was just...
What moments?
Like, when she knew who to ask for the cell phone. And she's like...
Oh, yeah.
When
she was getting the Santa gifts.
Yeah.
Okay.
When she signed to the deaf girl, oh my goodness. I literally almost cried the first time.
Yeah,
because it was just
cried.
so sweet. When she sees the deaf girl again at the end, when she's delivering presents, and she's like, you are Santa. I was just like, oh my goodness. Where I did dock it, and I just felt like it wasn't that big because she was just so Christmassy, and she was so for everyone else. Again, I would say she's really selfless. Was pretty much everyone else dogged her for being selfish. In a way. Like, you need to stop caring about your own Christmas and, you know, da-da-da. Like, I feel like someone said that to her. You're worried about your own Christmas. Even Elf Polly said something like that. And I was like, they just were kind of dogging her in a way that she was being selfish. And I was like, she's literally thinking about everyone else but herself.
Yeah.
Again, like you said, her number one wish is to be Santa. And she was told by her dad that you have to support Santa. And that's what she did. She's like, okay, I can't get my dream, but I'm going to be there for Santa.
Yeah.
You know? And so that was the only thing that docked my Christmas cheer, was just like everyone else seemed to dog her in a way that, like, attacking her in a way that seemed like she was selfish.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're being selfish. You don't understand me. Da-da-da-da. Like, and it's like she's just trying to work for everyone else.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about it in aesthetic, but I'm going to talk about it in overall Christmas cheer. The North Pole was so cute.
Yes.
And I loved it. Like, everybody was so North Pole-y. I even loved, like, the stables where the reindeer stayed. The garlands in there. And they had a garland on, like, the inside and outside of every single door. And just, like, hanging on posts. And all the garlands were different. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
And then what I loved even more was that their house was the most decorated thing. Which felt so appropriate. Because, like, Santa's dwelling should be the most Christmas thing. And it was.
Yeah.
It was so nice.
So nice.
Who was the little baby reindeer? Scout? Was that his name? Or Rover? Snowball. Where did I get Scout and where did I get Rover? Well, Rover was his dog name.
His dog name when he was a dog.
Yeah. But he was so cute. And I loved that little bit because you don't normally see, like, baby reindeer.
Yeah.
Like, they're always just, like, grown and adults and stuff.
Yeah.
But he was, like, he was almost like Rudolph.
Yeah.
And he was just, like, a little baby.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just so cute. He was, like, the sweetest little character.
Yeah.
And I think where my score was affected so much was, like, I wanted to see a little bit more Christmas out in the real world.
Mm-hmm.
And then I hated, like, the North Pole losing their Christmas cheer. Like, I thought it was a funny little bit, but, like, well, if the North Pole isn't going to believe that Christmas can happen, then, like, who is?
Yeah.
You know? And, like, how quickly everybody at the North Pole turned on her.
Yeah, I would say that was tough, yeah.
Because it was like, okay, I mean, yeah, she encouraged her brother to go on a little vacation, but they still had, like, another Santa.
Yeah.
Christmas was still going to go on, and yeah, it was going to be very different, but it's like, Christmas was still going to go on.
Yes.
And they were, like, looking at her like she was...
Yeah.
such a big enemy.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's just rude. Like, she's actually thinking of everyone else.
She is.
Because, like, who wants a Santa who doesn't want to be Santa?
Yeah. Exactly. And if he was stressed out, and she's like, she literally said, no one wants a Santa going down the chimney crying and weeping or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, she was thinking about those things. Like, no, you need to be on point and ready so that you don't ruin the experience for the kids.
Yeah.
You know, she was constantly thinking about them.
Yeah. I agree.
I can see it.
And then I also, like, just didn't like the sexism from the North Pole specifically when they were like, you, Santa?
Yeah.
Santa's not a girl. It's like,
yeah.
Do you work at the North Pole? Are
Yeah.
you actually an elder elf?
Yeah.
Do you actually have Christmas in your do you have Christmas's best interest in mind?
Yeah.
Or is it just, I don't even know. Just
Yeah.
like, this is how it goes. Like a stupid little ritual.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't like that. Because I was like,
Yeah.
okay, come on. Like, I could see the rest of the world being like, Santa,
Yeah.
a girl. But, like, when the North Pole was like that, I was like,
Yeah.
that's rude. But Elf Polly, she called it for, like, from the very beginning.
Yeah.
When they were, like, assigning or appointing Nick as Santa, they were like, oh, well, the next male Kringle. And Elf Polly was like, it doesn't say that.
Yeah.
She was like, no, I know what it says, and it doesn't say that.
Yeah.
And, yeah. I mean, Noelle, even there, she was like, hush, Polly. Like, they're elder elves. They know exactly what they're talking about.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
She was really into Christmas, which obviously she carried my score. Anything that was good came from Noelle, pretty much.
Pretty much.
But, yeah, those were some things that I was like, I mean, it aided in the plot. Like, I don't think the plot would have been so good if we didn't have those things. But I think it brought down the Christmas cheer for sure.
That makes sense. All right, so supporting characters. Who'd you say was your supporting characters?
Almost basically everyone else. Like,
That's kind of what I put.
Yeah. Cousin Gabe, Nick, Jake, his son, Elf Polly, the mom. I didn't think too much about the mall manager.
No, she was kind of just like there.
Extra. What'd you give them?
I gave him 3 candy canes out of 5.
Okay. I gave them 4 candy canes out of 5.
They were good in that they helped Noelle develop. You know, I liked Jake. I felt like he was a nice sidekick in a matter of speaking. Like, he was just, like, aiding Noelle. I liked how there wasn't the romantic interest, because that would just complicate everything.
Yeah.
I felt like they hinted at it, but it wasn't like, they're like, we're not even dealing with that whole subplot.
Yeah.
And so I really liked his aspect in there, that it wasn't like romantic, but it was just like, I'm here to help you out. And even when he didn't believe that she was Santa's sister, when Elf Polly came to talk to him and was like, why does it matter? Like, she's there for kindness and positivity, and now she's in a psychiatric unit. And then she shows him her ears, and he's like, okay, maybe she's onto something. And I thought that he and Noelle had good banter. I thought Nick and Noelle had really good banter as brother and sister.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I felt like they played that brother and sister very well.
Yeah.
And I just, they had individual moments that I really enjoyed. I think I really liked Cousin Gabe. I thought he was funny.
He was so funny.
And he wasn't malicious. It wasn't like he was a villain. He said at the beginning, I like being in tech. He goes, no, I like to be in the tech department. They're like, we need a Santa. You're going to take over Santa. And he's like, fine.
And he just made it what he knows.
Yeah. So I think that they all were pretty good in that sense. I just felt like they were a little lackluster in comparison to Noelle. Like, I feel like when I think of the movie, I really just think of her. And then if I think harder, then I think of the other ones. And I guess where you put it down in overall Christmas cheer, I put it in the supporting characters. I really didn't like how they dogged her that entire movie.
Yeah.
You know, when she tried to help Nick out and, you know, and the entire North Pole was just down her throat. And then even Nick, when he was at the yoga studio and she goes, I said, take a weekend. And he's getting on her for that. And she's like, no one listens to me. But then she's being called out for, you know, just only caring about her Christmas. And
yeah.
So I guess that's where I docked it, was more of the supporting characters. I didn't think it affected the overall Christmas cheer for me, but it was more of like it affected how I looked at the supporting characters.
Yeah. But yeah, I gave them 4 candy canes because I felt like they just really made Noelle look better. Mm-hmm. You know, like we could really see her optimism and her cheer because she definitely had a whole lot more of it compared to everyone else. And their lines were just amazing. Like,
they were good.
They didn't. I don't feel like anybody took away from the movie. I felt like they all added to the movie. Okay, so totals. What was your total?
My total was 20.75 candy canes out of 25.
My total was 20 candy canes out of 25.
Ooh.
Pretty close.
So that gives us an average score of 20.38 candy canes out of 25. But we have the cringe factor. Dun, 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 dun.
Oh, that was good.
It was good. Wow. We did not practice it, guys.
Nope. What'd you give it?
I gave it half an icicle.
I gave it 1 icicle out of 5.
Yeah, I guess the cringe was coming from the dogging on Noelle, but I felt like she did her part well. I know that there were some like funny moments with Noelle, you know, being naive about the real world and things like that, but I felt like it didn't have cringe for me. I thought it aided in the whole plot.
My cringe came from the fact that it was like essentially a kid's movie. And so there were just some things that were, like, cringy. Like, Noelle, just in general, in the real world, there were just some things that you're, like, ugh. Like,
yeah.
It was kind of weird. And then just the little things that they had in there that, like, were aimed towards children. Like, Phoenix Arizona. Like, yeah, that was funny. But, like, only kids are gonna laugh at that.
Yeah.
And, like, the fact that she was so into card making, and I can't remember what her major was, but her minor was popcorn stringing.
Yeah.
Which is funny, but, like, is that really Christmassy? Like, if she was Santa the entire time? Like, does Santa do that, or does he just make the toys? I mean, I guess he does a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Because he is Santa.
Yeah.
But it was still just like, that's weird. What did
Yeah.
her brother study?
Santa.
He has a major in Santa.
Yeah.
That's funny. But yeah, so it was just because it was like a kids movie, but it was a fun kids movie.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree that it was kind of a kids movie?
Yeah.
I think what made it feel more of a kids movie was that, yeah, you're right. There wasn't that like love aspect or that love angle.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was kind of hinted at for the adults, but it wasn't like a big thing
Yeah.
that they had in there.
Yeah. So with that, we are going to slash 0.75 icicles from our average score to give us an overall score of 19.63 candy canes out of 25. Whoa, and I believe that puts Noelle in first place. Yes, Noelle has surpassed Candy Cane Lane, which had an overall of 19.25 candy canes.
So no tiebreaker, but
No tiebreaker. It was close.
very, very, close.
So that means Noelle is in first place with 19.63 candy canes. Then follows up Candy Cane Lane with 19.25 candy canes. Below that is the Christmas Chronicles with 18.88 candy canes. And then in fourth place is Dashing Through the Snow with 18.38 candy canes. That is a very tight score.
Yeah, what's that, like just 1.5 candy canes between first and fourth?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Wild. And so, unfortunately, that means that we are going to have to say goodbye to, for this year, the Christmas Chronicles and Dashing Through the Snow. And Noelle and Candy Cane Lane are moving on to playoffs, so you guys will see them again at the end of the year when we start playoffs. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
And with that, we're done with streaming of A White Christmas. One category down, 7 more to go.
Yep.
Yep. And so,
Next up,
we
have Krampus is coming to town.
Yeah, so for all you horror movie lovers who also like Christmas, this is the category for you. We are going to be looking at the scary, at the Christmas, all in one. So it's going to be terrifying for us these next 4 weeks. We'll enjoy.
There's only
2 of them?
There's only 2 that are like really scary,
Yeah.
right? I feel like there's 2 that are more action-y.
Yeah. You're right.
But yeah, it's got a more mature rating, so
Yeah. Keep that in mind.
yes.
So tune in next week where we follow a family and a boy named Max who loves Christmas. He loves Santa. He just loves it all. But sometimes a kid gets bullied too much into not believing and he gives up on his Christmas spirit altogether. And that's when Krampus comes. We are looking at the 2015 film Krampus. And if you want to get ahead and watch it, you can watch it on Hulu. And YouTube TV, I think, is also showing it. But Hulu is where you for sure can watch it. So, tune in next week as we cover that movie.
Yeah, it's a good one.
It is a good one. It's the reason why we have this category, actually.
Literally. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, I'm Amanda.
And I'm Adriana.
Have a holly jolly day. Bye.
Bye.